My brother posted a photo of our childhood home with the caption, "Ours now," and tagged the family. So I replied with a photo of the deed bearing my name and the transfer date and watched his comments turn from bragging to pleading. I, 32M, stared at the notification on my phone, my coffee halfway to my lips when I saw the photo. My brother had posted a picture of our childhood home, the two-story colonial with the wraparound porch where we'd spent every summer as kids. The caption read, "Ours now," with a house emoji and tags for every family member except me. My hand tightened around the mug. The photo showed him standing on the front steps, arms spread wide like he owned the place. Which, according to him, he now did. The comments were already rolling in. Cousins congratulating him. Aunts saying how proud Mom would be. Uncle James writing about how the house would stay in the family. I felt my jaw clench as I scrolled through the praise, each comment another knife twist. What none of them knew, what my brother certainly didn't know, was that I'd bought that house 6 months ago. Mom had died 2 years earlier, and the house had gone into probate. Dad had passed when we were teenagers, so there was no one to inherit it directly. The estate was a mess. My brother had assumed he'd get it. He was the oldest. He'd been Mom's golden child. He'd told everyone at the funeral that he'd make sure the house stayed in the family, that he'd take care of everything. I'd nodded along, grieving too much to argue. But my brother had never followed through. He'd talked big at every family gathering about his plans for the house, about the renovations he'd do, but he never actually filed the paperwork, never dealt with the estate lawyers, never showed up to the probate hearings. I had gone to every single one. The house had been in limbo for over a year. The county was going to auction it for back taxes. I'd found out by accident when I drove past and saw the notice on the door. I'd called the county office the next day. The amount owed was substantial, but I had savings. I'd been working 2 jobs since college, living in a studio apartment, putting money away. My brother had been bouncing from one get-rich-quick scheme to another, always broke, always asking Mom for money. I'd paid the back taxes. I'd hired a lawyer. I'd gone through the probate process properly. The judge had ruled in my favor because I was the only one who showed up and demonstrated responsibility for the property. The deed had been transferred to my name 4 months ago. I'd kept quiet about it, visiting the house on weekends to clean it up, going through Mom's things, making small repairs. I wasn't ready to tell anyone yet. I was still processing my own grief and didn't want to deal with family drama. But now my brother had forced my hand. I opened my photo gallery and found the picture I'd taken of the deed the day it arrived. My name in bold letters. The official seal. The date stamp showing the transfer had happened months before my brother's little photo shoot. I uploaded it to the family group chat and tagged everyone he'd tagged. My caption was simple. Actually mine. Transfer date, June 15th. I set my phone down and finished my coffee. I didn't need to watch the chaos unfold in real time. I knew what would happen. 10 minutes later, my phone started buzzing. I ignored it. I had work to do. I was a project manager for a construction company, and we had a deadline approaching. I spent the next few hours in meetings, my phone on silent in my pocket. By lunch, I had 47 missed calls and over 100 text messages. I scrolled through them while eating a sandwich at my desk. My brother had called 11 times. My aunt had left a voice message asking what was going on. Cousins were texting asking if this was a joke. Uncle James had sent a long message about family unity and not causing problems. I deleted most of them without reading past the first line. The ones I did read carefully were from my sister. She was the middle child, 2 years younger than my brother, 3 years older than me. She'd always been the peacemaker, but she'd also been the only one who'd helped me go through Mom's things after the funeral. She knew how much work I'd put in. Her texts were simple. Good for you. And call me when you can. I called her during my drive home. She answered on the first ring and asked if I was okay. I told her I was fine. She said my brother was losing his mind, that he'd been calling everyone in the family trying to get them to pressure me into signing over the house. She warned me he was talking about lawyers and claiming I'd stolen his inheritance. I asked her if she wanted to know the whole story. She said she already knew enough. She'd seen me at the probate hearings. She'd noticed I was the only one who ever actually went to check on the house. She'd watched my brother make promises for 2 years without following through on any of them. She told me she was proud of me for taking care of it. That call meant more than I'd expected. Having one person in my corner made the rest easier to handle. By the time I got home, my brother had left 3 more voicemails. I listened to them while changing out of my work clothes. The first one was angry. He accused me of going behind his back and stealing what was rightfully his. The second was defensive. He claimed he'd been planning to file the paperwork, but had been too busy with work. The third was different. His voice had changed. He said we needed to talk. He suggested we could work something out. He mentioned he had expenses and had already told people the house was his. I didn't call back. The family group chat had exploded. I'd muted it, but I checked it that evening out of curiosity. My brother had posted a long explanation about how he'd been working with lawyers and had assumed everything was being handled. He claimed I'd rushed the process and taken advantage of a technicality. He said the house should be split between siblings and that I was being selfish. Several relatives had rallied to his defense. They posted about family values and sharing. They said Mom would have wanted us to work together. They suggested I do the right thing and transfer part of the ownership to my brother. But not everyone agreed. My sister had posted the dates of the probate hearings and pointed out that my brother hadn't attended a single one. A cousin I'd always been close with mentioned that I'd been the one paying for Mom's memorial service because my brother claimed he was broke. Uncle James, surprisingly, had changed his tune after seeing the deed and posted that legal ownership was legal ownership. The tide was shifting, but my brother wasn't done. 2 days later, he showed up at my apartment. I'd just gotten home from work when he knocked. I looked through the peephole and saw him standing there in a wrinkled shirt, looking like he hadn't slept. I opened the door, but didn't invite him in. He started talking immediately. He said we needed to discuss this like adults. He claimed there had been a misunderstanding. He insisted he'd always planned to include me in decisions about the house, but that as the oldest, he should have primary ownership. He suggested I sell him the house for what I'd paid in taxes and legal fees. I asked him if he had that kind of money. He stammered and said he could get a loan. I asked him if he knew how much I'd actually paid. He threw out a number that was less than half of what I'd spent. I corrected him. His face fell. Then he changed tactics. He brought up our childhood. He talked about the summers we'd spent there, the memories we'd made. He said Mom would have wanted us to share it. He asked me what I even needed a big house for since I lived alone. I told him I'd spent 2 years watching him make promises he never kept. I reminded him that I'd been the one dealing with Mom's medical bills while he was pursuing another failed business venture. I mentioned that I'd called him dozens of times during the probate process and he'd never returned my calls. I said I'd given him every opportunity to be involved and he'd chosen not to. His expression hardened. He said I'd always been jealous of him. He claimed I was doing this to get back at him for being Mom's favorite. He accused me of being petty and vindictive. I told him to leave. He stood there for a moment, his hands clenched into fists, then turned and walked away without another word. That night, I got a message from a lawyer. My brother had hired an attorney and was threatening to sue for his share of the estate. The lawyer's letter was full of legal jargon, but the bottom line was clear. My brother was claiming undue influence and procedural irregularities in the probate process. I forwarded the letter to my own lawyer, the one who'd helped me with the probate. She called me the next morning and told me not to worry. She said my brother's case had no merit. The probate had been handled properly. I'd followed every legal requirement. I'd paid the debts on the property. I'd attended every hearing. The judge had made a clear ruling. She said my brother was likely trying to intimidate me into a settlement. She asked if I wanted to fight it or offer a settlement to make him go away. I thought about it for a day. Part of me wanted to just pay him something to end the drama. But the larger part, the part that had spent 2 years watching him coast on empty promises while I did the actual work, refused to reward his behavior. I told her to fight it. The lawsuit moved slowly. My brother's lawyer filed motions. My lawyer responded. Months passed. During that time, I stopped attending family gatherings. The drama had split the family into camps. Some sided with my brother out of tradition or sympathy. Others backed me after learning the full story. Most just wanted us to settle it and move on. My sister kept me updated on the family gossip. My brother had been telling people he was going to win the lawsuit and get the house. He'd shown them documents his lawyer had prepared, carefully worded to sound more promising than they actually were. He'd convinced a few relatives to contribute to his legal fund. My sister thought it was pathetic. 8 months after he'd filed, the lawsuit was dismissed. The judge reviewed the probate records and ruled that everything had been handled properly. My brother's claims of irregularities were baseless. The judge ordered him to pay my legal fees. I got the call from my lawyer while I was at the house, painting the living room. She told me the news and congratulated me. I thanked her and hung up. I stood there in the empty room, paintbrush in hand, looking at the half-finished wall. I'd expected to feel triumphant. Instead, I just felt tired. My phone buzzed. It was my brother. He'd sent a text asking to meet. He said he wanted to apologize. I stared at the message for a long moment, then deleted it. 2 weeks later, I got another message from him. This one was different. He admitted he'd screwed up. He said he'd let everyone down, including himself. He acknowledged that I'd done all the work while he'd done nothing but talk. He didn't ask for anything. He just said he was sorry and that he hoped someday I might forgive him. I didn't respond, but I didn't delete it either. I finished renovating the house over the next year. I replaced the old roof. I updated the kitchen. I refinished the hardwood floors. I turned Mom's bedroom into a home office. I kept Dad's study exactly as it had been. Every weekend, I drove out there and worked on something new. My sister visited often. She helped me pick out paint colors and furniture. We went through old photo albums and decided which pictures to frame. She brought her kids, and they played in the backyard just like we had as children. Those visits made the house feel like a home again. I never heard from my brother again after that last text. My sister told me he'd moved to another state for a job opportunity. She said he'd stopped attending family events. She thought he was embarrassed. A year and a half after the deed was transferred, I hosted Thanksgiving at the house. I invited the whole family. Most came. My brother didn't. The house was full of people and noise and the smell of turkey. Uncle James told stories about Dad. My cousin's kids ran through the rooms. My sister helped me in the kitchen. At one point, I stood on the back porch, watching the sun set over the yard, and felt something settle in my chest. The weight I'd been carrying since Mom's funeral eased just a little. The house was mine. I'd earned it through work and responsibility and showing up when no one else would. I'd done right by Mom's memory, even if the path had been harder than I'd expected. My sister came out and stood beside me. She asked if I was okay. I told her I was better than okay. She smiled and said Mom would be proud. I wanted to believe that was true. The house wasn't just a victory or a prize. It was a responsibility I'd accepted when everyone else had walked away. It was proof that actions mattered more than words, that follow-through meant something. My brother had learned that lesson the hard way, and I'd learned that sometimes standing your ground meant standing alone. But I wasn't alone. I had my sister. I had the house. I had the memories of my parents living in every room. And I had the satisfaction of knowing I'd done what needed to be done, even when it was hard, even when it cost me relationships, even when it would have been easier to just give in. The deed with my name on it sat framed in the study, not as a trophy, but as a reminder. A reminder that responsibility isn't about who talks the loudest or makes the biggest promises. It's about who shows up, does the work, and sees things through to the end. My brother's bragging post was still up on social media, buried now under months of other content. The comments had been edited or deleted. His confident caption looked hollow in hindsight. My response with the deed photo was still there too, standing as a quiet correction to his fiction. I didn't gloat. I didn't need to. The truth had spoken for itself. If you'd like to see more stories like this, a gentle tap on the subscribe button would mean the world to us.